Okay, we should be live right now. Let me know if you can hear me properly. Good evening, everyone. I'm early as usual, and we'll wait until everyone comes on or until 9 o'clock, and then we will focus on the main topic of the live stream, the title of the live stream, which is volatility in the energy markets. Yeah, energy market volatility threatening Europe's financial system. And this is very significant, I think, because on Friday, after the European markets closed, G7 announced that they're going to cap oil prices. And then the Russians announced they're going to shut down the supply, the remaining supply of gas from Nord Stream 1 to Europe. So we should see some explosive markets, natural gas and electricity markets come tomorrow in Europe. I think the US is closed for Labor Day, but the futures markets are going to open and Europe is going to be open. So it'll be an interesting day. Hydro Mechanic, who else is here? Dilwyn Roberts, Manic Miner, Louise Burnett. Get your loot out of your bank ASAP. I agree with that. The other thing as well, the more loot you have in the bank, the more you're financing what our governments in the West are doing right now in terms of not just domestic policy, but foreign policy and economic policy. Unless, of course, you agree with everything they're doing, then you keep it there and help them. But I don't agree with it, and I'm gonna vote with my wallet, so to speak. Jillian B, evening, Mario and Billy from Perthshire. Spock 2024, Azahi says good morning. I guess he's in Japan. Morris Udall, hi Morris. Steve Fleming. BP, Chris Conman, hi Chris, nice to see you. Brady Girding, music lover forever. Chris Jones, wet Cheshire. Yeah, over here is not, I think it's going to get wet next week, this coming week, but it's been a fairly warm day, pretty nice day. Azahi is in Australia. Sorry, Azahi. I thought of Azahi beer, which is Japanese. Alain Roy, bonjour, Alain. Urban Sombrero, Trust promises relief for UK next week. Prepare for more currency dilution. I agree. She doesn't have a magic wand. She's going to keep doing the same thing. She's going to come out with a lot of platitudes that she's going to change everything. She's going to focus on investment and saving, smaller government. And yeah, I mean, she doesn't have a clue. She's just another puppet. Lord Humongous, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Peace, blessings, everybody, says MW351645. Yeah, I think that's right. The other thing about peace, blessings, yeah, we have to be also, I guess, tolerant and nice to even people who don't realize what's going on, and we have to try to help them if they ask us. And we have to be patient as well. And I think I spoke on Friday. I did a live stream during the day on Friday that we need to get out as well and enjoy ourselves. Not smell the flowers out there. So I think that's important. Brandon Baker, God bless from America. Echo is here. Hi, Echo. Chris Jones. Mickey. Pablo Pina. Hi, Pablo Pina. Matt Bittner, have you heard any explanation how the energy price cap scheme? Oh, yeah, I've read about that. We're going to look into that. I have an article that explains it. And one thing I would say, it's supposed to be completed by December. So they've pre-announced it. They don't have it ready. And that's led the Russians to do what they've done with the natural gas, which is really stupid. It's something that's supposed to be ready only in December. And I'll get into it now. The way they're going to try to do it, Matt Bittner, is to try to force insurance companies in the G7 nations, which insurance companies basically in the G7, they control 90% of maritime insurance to insure ships. I would say Lloyd's of London is very important. And the Janet Yellen thinks she can tell these insurance companies to keep track of the people who are shipping oil and make sure that they're not charging a certain price. And there was a guy in an article in the FT where they talked about this in the insurance business who didn't want to be mentioned, who said, well, this is not our job. So I think it's dead in the water, this thing. And all it will do is the Russians are just going to sell oil to other people. Yes, I think it's a really silly idea, and it's not well thought out. It's just political, I would say. Jane DR, good evening from Wales. Hi, Jane. Who else have we got here? So I hope that answers your question, Matt. So it's not a very well thought out thing. And I don't think there's any support. The countries that would really have to get on board with this price capping of oil would be India and Russia. And I don't see them doing that. India has started to buy oil from Russia. They never used to buy oil from them. Now they're buying 1 million barrels a day, I think. Or I'm not sure if it's a day or a month, but they're buying a lot more. Jack Smith, hi, Jack. Yes, everyone's doing well, I think. I'm doing well. Billy's doing well. There's Billy. He's asleep. Dmitry Shmerkovich, good day from New Jersey. Hi, Dmitry. Russell Brand hasn't gotten back to me. No, I don't expect him to do. Steve McCrae, hi, Steve. Silver Beast is here. Ellie Dance Arabia. Anonymous, any insight on Mithras? Mithras, isn't that one of the Roman gods, Mithras? I'm not sure what you mean by Mithras. There's a Mithras bar in the city and near Cannon Street. We used to go when I worked there after work. Ant H, Sven Juan. David Otness, 97% of the UK's petroleum products come from non-Russian sources. How does that square the actual cost structure as manifested? Well, the thing is that the price of oil is an international price. So it doesn't matter where it comes from. It's like the price of gold is set in dollars and it's international. The price of gold in pounds will always be, if you convert it to dollars, will always be the same as the price of gold in dollars. So it's a very liquid commodity, and the price is set internationally. Steve Juan, he's from 19 from London. People my age spend extremely recklessly and have severe lack of understanding about the economy, which is dangerous for the future. Well, 19, and when I was 19, I didn't really have that much to spend. I was at university. I did get some pocket money, I guess. I did work a little bit, not really at university. I didn't have to work, luckily, but I think sometimes we underestimate younger people. I think there's a lot of young people out there who have got it right. So we shouldn't just focus on the negatives. 7-1, but yeah, it's good that you're watching this. Matt, do you have natural gas heat in your home? Yes, it's a gas. gas heating, the gas boiler. That's right. David Bradley says, good day, Mario and Billy. We've got a minute to really get going. Trust, Andrew Watson says, Trust is going to give out furlough style package to everybody this winter, or the poll tax. Yeah, I even heard Nigel Farage, who's a guy, yeah, I'm not really a fan, or I don't dislike him. I'm quite neutral on him. He even said that because he's more of a free market guy, I would say. He said whoever becomes prime minister, and of course it's going to be Truss, has to do something. So even Nigel Farage says the state has to intervene. So you can bet the currencies are going to keep falling. Yes, gold and silver have been frustrating, especially in US dollars, but in pounds, we're up almost 10% this year. And I thought it was encouraging. On Friday, the price action, we saw the Dow drop over 300 points, and silver and gold actually finished up on the day. We'll have to see, of course, what happens in the next 12 hours. It will probably be a bit quieter because it's a Labor Day holiday, but I expect the gold and silver markets and the futures markets to be quite active. Gold is traded as a currency, so silver in the foreign exchange markets. So, and that doesn't close really. All right, so 9 o'clock. The title then is Energy Market Volatility Threatening Europe's Financial System. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I have a feeling this could be, and yeah, it's my opinion that it could be, there's a probability that this could be like the black swan event that triggers financial instability, not just for energy companies, but for the banks that finance these energy companies' activities. And the volatility in the energy market has been huge. Recently, European natural gas went up to like 350 euros, and it's dropped back like about 100 euros. And I think on Friday, it closed around 220, 230. But then we got the news from Russia that they're going to stop the rest of the gas that they're sending through Nord Stream 1. And it was because the G7 announced price capping for Russian oil, which we'll come to in a minute. So we had, I think it was yesterday, you see, Sweden, the Swedish government announced emergency support for energy producers as EU considers action. So this is not just Sweden, and Sweden is part of the EU. Sweden has its own currency. It's not part of the euro, though. But it says here, companies face rapidly rising collateral demands, prompt policymakers to warn of financial stability threat. And I would say I've gone through this, and I can tell you what it's all about. The problem we have now is volatility, you see, and a lot of these energy suppliers, these energy companies, they're going to be caught they're going to be caught short, so to speak, tomorrow and next week, because prices are going to go back up. And I guess they did well to sell up until Friday. They did well to sell maybe gas at 350, 300, or electricity as well to hedge forward. But now we're going to come in tomorrow, and those prices are going to go through the roof. And they're going to be short because they thought those prices were the top. And then we could also, and then they'll cover, and then the price could collapse again. So volatility and derivatives is a big problem. And derivatives become more and more of a problem, more leveraged, the more extended the fiat currency system becomes, because derivatives are basically a tool by the powers that be, the banks, to keep this Ponzi scheme going. Derivatives didn't really exist for financial instruments, and like currencies and interest rates. and even for the energy companies, the currencies are so volatile, everything's so volatile that they have to hedge. I was speaking with Rafi Farber. I did an interview on his channel last week. I don't know if he's published a video, but I said that under a sound money system, yes, there are futures markets and derivatives, but mostly for agricultural. So this is a symptom, I think, also that the currencies are they have no stability anymore. It's not just the energy price. Let's look at some of your questions here. Winter of discontent for Europe. Yeah, Matt, that was Matt Bittner. Yeah, I've seen that in Prague, in the Czech Republic. There's been protests about the energy crisis. I think 70,000 people in Prague. And they want the war to stop because we've been told now that the price for freedom is this energy crisis to help free a corrupt regime in Ukraine. And but I think if things get really bad in terms of the winter and electricity, heating, and people actually starve and go hungry, yeah, don't forget the food prices as well are probably going to go up. I think they could have a tough time on their hands. And I saw that the German finance minister as well said, oh, we don't care about the German people. We care about Ukrainians. And I think that's a very, very dangerous policy. So yes, it all looks very disrupted, I think. The other thing that we're seeing is that prices are continuing to go up. I saw Goldman Sachs reassessed its forecast for UK CPI. It's gone up. Now they think it could be even 22%. So things are going to get a lot worse. Yeah, and the many years that I've covered or studied economics and been in the markets, I've never seen the situation like this. I think we're approaching the moment where people are going to lose complete faith and confidence. They already are in our policymakers, in the currency, and we could be approaching, I don't know when it could be triggered, some kind of currency event. And someone noted as well that Liz Truss, she's going to come in as prime minister, and she's going to help. And help means more and more borrowing. So Steve E., thank you for your super chat for the Billy Biscuit Fund. All right, there he is. There's Billy. Billy says, thanks. Joker Alpha, gas prices have dropped in Pacific Northwest. Some feel gas prices will go up after the congressional elections. Yeah, the other thing as well, I think that's helped the gas prices go down is they released a lot of oil from the strategic petroleum reserves, but from next year, they're going to have to buy back a lot of oil because that strategic reserve in the States has to be up to a certain amount. Another thing I saw that it seems like we're making the same mistakes that people made in the 1920s, Germany. They thought that the way to solve the inflation problem was to provide even more currency. And that's in that book, When Money Dies, that I've referred to many times. But now it's happening again. We saw the German government is going to come out with a 65 billion euro spending to help the cost of living crisis. I think in the UK, Boris Johnson already spent 17, I'm not sure if 17 or 37 billion, but still a lot. And it looks like Liz Truss wants to spend 100 billion extra on tax cuts, on helping people, helping companies. Everyone wants to be helped. And that only means one thing: our currencies are going to keep going lower. The dollar will go lower as well eventually, and it might drop a little bit against the other fiat currencies, but what it will really go lower against is gold and silver and commodities. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. Do you foresee OPEC cutting production to solidify price because of the paper contracts manipulation? Yeah, that's a good question, because I read about that a couple of weeks ago. Excuse me. A Saudi minister or official was saying that there's been a lot of manipulation in the oil market, oil futures, that it doesn't reflect the fundamentals for the underlying oil market, and that the oil market is actually very tight. So it is possible that they could cut the supply of oil, especially if the US starts buying it again, they could cut the supply. So I agree with you. And don't forget, there's OPEC plus one, which is Russia. Mark Award says it's January 1923 and we're all in Berlin. Enjoy, quick. Excuse me. Yeah, I think the back in those days, I think it was the summer of 22 that actually things started really kicking off. They had quite a lot of inflation, a bit like we have today, but it hadn't really gone crazy. So there is something that triggers it. Could it be this energy situation in Europe? The fact that we continue, not us, but our leaders continue to shoot themselves in the foot, to do the wrong things, to do everything. Everything is like backfiring that they're doing. I saw a little clip from a French TV someone put on Twitter, and this is like mainstream French media talking about it, and they're saying everything that they've done is actually helping the Russians and it's not helping us. And the two guys on TV were saying yes. And did you know that Russia, I think Saudi Arabia is buying oil from Russia? And you'd think, why would Saudi Arabia need to buy oil from Russia? Well, they're buying the oil from Russia and selling it to us at a higher price. So it's really amazing. Joker Alpha thinks gold and silver will go up after the midterm elections in the US. Is that, I guess that's in US dollars, you think? Okay. OPEC meeting tomorrow. Okay. Good to know. Lord Humongous says he's a quadrillionaire. Don't tell the IRS. Yeah. Gas ETF in euro, it should go up tomorrow. Yeah, because the Russians announced the news on Friday after that market had closed. Sacramento, California, 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, that is hot. Here it's been quite nice, maybe in the mid 70s, low 80s. Well, not even low 80s, mid to high 70s Fahrenheit. Frank Brown says, I've heard UK only imports 5 to 10% gas from Russia. If that's true, why the high gas and electric prices in the UK? Well, because gas prices are set in the international market. It's like the oil price. So it doesn't really matter, unfortunately. So the only way they could, I think we get like almost half of our gas from the UK, like Britain's shelf, so domestic natural gas. The only way to, we'd have to close the UK, the capital markets, and just not allow anyone to buy our gas. and set a price. But that's just tinkering with the markets. So unfortunately, that's the way things are done. Price gouging in the UK with gas prices or petrol? I don't think so. There's this fallacy that and it happened during the hyperinflation in Germany. They were blaming farmers. They're blaming everyone that was doing well for profiteering. But we have to blame this fiat currency system where they've printed the Bank of England printed a quarter of the economy in a few months in 2020 and 2021, or they were still printing beginning of this year. What do you expect prices to do and the currency to do? Look at the British pound. It's gone from 140 last year. It's now almost at 110 from against the dollar. And a lot of the things that we have to buy, oil included, are priced in dollars. So if the pound goes down versus the dollar, it goes down versus oil too. So yeah, and if you look at the prices, petrol prices and all prices, there's a lot of government taxation and VAT. So you'll find that the petrol stations, they're actually they're doing okay, but they're not raking it in. Why would they want to punish their customers and make them suffer? I don't agree with that. And for those people who think nationalizing things would make it better, I think they're wrong. How cold does it get in the winter? Matt Bittner says here. Well, we're far north in terms of latitude, but we have the Gulf Stream, so it's quite temperate. It's quite mild, relatively mild winters. It goes under 32 or under 0 Celsius, but in the winter here, it's hardly goes below 0. Maybe in the north of the UK it does, but London is relatively mild, I would say. But it's still cold and it's damp here. It's quite damp. That makes it feel colder. Crypto Chris says tax cuts are not spending. They're not, but if the government is running a huge deficit like it is doing now, and interest rates are going up, and their cost of borrowing is going up, if you cut taxes, you're going to create even bigger deficits. I'm not against low taxation, but government is spending 50% of GDP. What we need is the government to cut back. But what we're hearing is that Truss is going to come in and she's going to help everyone. How do you help everyone? Well, by borrowing. So when you cut taxes and you increase borrowing, things are going to get even worse. The currency is going to go down the drain. Our cost of financing for the government is going to go up. Europe is going to save the euro on Thursday at European Central Bank announcement. Well, I don't think there's any way to save any of these currencies, because the way they look at saving it is by creating even more of it. Chris Snow, how can raising rates fight inflation? It doesn't shrink the BOE balance sheet. Yeah, I mean, unless you raise rates to 20% and you kill the economy, yes, it won't. And the Bank of England's balance sheet is, they're supposed to start selling some of their assets in this month. I think they're going to have a tough time. But in the current environment, when you raise rates and there's so much debt, government debt, public, also people in debt, private debt, corporate debt, that increases the people's costs. So, and people will have to raise prices as well, companies, because they have higher financing costs. So it's actually going to create even more higher prices, which is not really inflation, because if you know what inflation is, and I've said it many times, that inflation is the creation of currency and credit out of thin air. And what we have now is rising prices, but we're going to continue to see rising prices. The other thing, Rafi Faber, for example, talks about, and because I get his end game investor from Seeking Alpha, and I recommend, if you're interested, to look into that too, because it's only a couple of $100 a year, is that what we're going to see now, because a lot of people still think if we do demand destruction of the economy, then prices are going to go down. They're not. What's going to happen now, and especially in Europe, we're seeing pubs closing down, a lot of business closing down because they can't cope with the energy prices, factories in Germany, everywhere. The supply of everything is going to shrink. There's going to be less people working, but people are still going to need to eat and heat their homes and move, drive their cars. So it's going to be the worst of both worlds. You're going to have, prices of assets like stocks and bonds going down, real estate, and then you're going to have consumer prices going up and the economy shrinking. It's going to be like the 70s, stagflation. And then you're going to have governments trying to keep helping, doing more and more of the wrong thing. Like Germany just announced 65 billion euros to help with the cost of living crisis. BP Mario, I have seen how the Japanese and South Korean economies in the 80s and 90s, there was a huge worker shortage before the collapse. Do you see a similar pattern in what's going on in the world now? I was reading through that book the other day about the hyperinflation in Germany, when money dies. And yes, you can have overemployment, but it's not really productive employment. It's all because of the easy credit. You get malinvestments, and yes, you get a lot of people also who don't want to work because it doesn't pay to work. Because I remember when I lived in Brazil, a lot of the people that weren't well off, for example, maids and people who did more manual jobs, they are always complaining about the bus fares and everything to go to work. And it comes to a point where a lot of people are just not going to go to work because it doesn't pay to go to work. And I think that's the other reason why. But it's not a sign of a healthy economy. Simon Lai, thank you for your super chat. Scoobyism, how can you heat the schools? Oh yeah, I saw that they're talking about only having 3 days of school instead of 5 days a week. It's going to affect everything. Hi, Scott, Sam. Zero reserves, limitless blah. Okay. Let's see, I've got some articles here I wanted to talk about. We spoke about the Swedish thing. So here's Liz Truss. Let's see, she's promising things, right? So that's not a good thing when politicians promise more and more. That means more and more spending. So here's the article. Liz Truss promises economic action from day one of premiership. Frontrunner to be Britain's new prime minister pledges a range of measures to tackle soaring living costs. So there you go. Liz Truss, widely expected to be named Prime Minister on Monday, has promised to tackle cost of living crisis in their first week. And she looks to accelerate long-term reforms to the electricity market. Yeah, that could be a good thing, but I don't think she's talked about abolishing the Climate Change Act of 2008, which I had one of the MPs, Peter Lilly. He's not an MP anymore, but he was one of the only 5 MPs who voted against that. That's one of the big problems for the energy crisis, and she doesn't talk about that. She's just going to pump more money into the system. So you see here, Sunak's team claims that a combination of short-term palliative measures coupled with Truss's promises to reverse increases in national insurance and corporation tax, and with her pledge for higher defense spending, could cost more than 100 billion. Truss said her approach would be, this is the funny part here, guys. Apparently, Liz Truss, this is what she thinks. The approach will be underpinned by a firm grip on the public finances and commitment to the principles of sound money and the lean state. Wow, I'd like to see that. I think this is just talk. It says Treasury insiders are worried about the impact of new borrowing at a time of rising interest rates and market jitters about the British economy. But Truss has dismissed stale thinking in the UK economic establishment. So I think she's like a loose cannon, fiscally speaking. So I think the pound and interest rates are going to continue to go higher. So there you go. That's Liz Truss. But she doesn't have any economic experience, I would say. Thomas Vaca from Michigan. Hi, Thomas. Mo Kifas from Virginia. Daniel San says conservatives have been in the UK for 10 years. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I think you mean they've been in power for 12 years, but it wouldn't have been any different if it was Labour. It'd probably be worse. They're all the same. They promise and promise. Liz Truss is part of the problem, the energy problem that we have, because she's the foreign secretary and she was 100% behind provoking Russia and starting this war or crisis in the Ukraine. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be having a lot of the price rises, even though prices had been going up since last year. So yeah, don't forget the extra price rises that we got. Yeah, they were big, but they were already going up a lot since last September. Don't forget, a lot of the energy suppliers in the UK, 31 of them went bust before the conflict in Ukraine. So now she's created the problem with Russia, and she's gonna come in and solve. So it's like problem. They create the problem. And then a reaction, and then they come out with a solution. I don't trust any of these people. Boris Bulyak, become your own banker. Link up with another cat or two. There's power there. Yeah, definitely don't keep as little as you can with the banks, because they work with the governments, and if you're not happy with their policy, yeah, take it out. BP says if they do allow the market to self-correct, it would literally end up in quite a lot of people dying in various ways. How do we convince people of free markets at the expense of human life? Well, I agree. I mean, and it's too late now to go to free markets. Like Nigel Farage said, recently, and he's a free market guy. He said, we've been handing out stuff for so long, not just in the UK, but in Europe and even in the US, handing out stuff for people and made them so dependent that if we pull the plug and we go totally free market, a lot of people are going to die. But unfortunately, by intervening even more now, government, eventually a lot of people are going to die too, because we're going to destroy the lifeblood of the economy, which is its currency. So if you don't have a currency in a modern indirect exchange specialized economy where people are not subsistent farmers anymore, where they can, yeah, people are dependent on money to buy things, yeah, things are going to get really bad either way, unfortunately. And maybe after things get bad, maybe people will realize, even though I don't have much hope, that the free market and small government is the way. Unfortunately, people will probably ask for even more help, despite the fact it didn't work. Killed Sasquatch, how do mining companies look these days? Yeah, they have been sold off quite a bit. So if you still believe in the move from paper assets to hard assets, then, and you are a long-term investor and you buying mining companies and commodity companies more as like to own them, then it's probably a really good time to buy them in relative terms. Yes, my silver miners are down quite a bit. The commodity companies are okay. So I would say if you like mining companies and you think their prospects and fundamentals are still good, then it's a great time to buy them. That's my opinion. It's not financial advice. 1,000 silver. I hope you have firewood and a wood burning fireplace. Barter and sound money. Yeah, but there's an old saying about gold being the money of kings, silver the money of gentlemen, barter the money of farmers or peasants, and paper being the money of slaves. Barter is not a bad thing because you have to exchange value for value. So you can't really cheat. The only problem with barter is that it makes exchange more difficult because you have to match, you know, your wants with someone else's wants. We might not be the same. That's why money is important, because money is the most marketable commodity, is something that everyone wants. I'm just going to get Billy because I think he wants to come down. Oh boy. He's going to come and say hi to everyone. There you go. Say hello, Billy, to everyone. There you go. Echo, do you think the Bank of England will be able to raise rates by 50 basis points on September 15th? Despite how expensive energy will be. Yeah, I mean, they should be raising rates again by 50 basis points, if not more. If they don't do it, yeah, you could see the pound drop even further, and you could see the gilt yields go up even more, and that will be just as bad for people. So they're damned if they do, or we're, you know, people who have mortgages to pay will be damned if they do and damned if they don't. So they're between a rock and a hard place. Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. Your thoughts on AG? By AG, I guess you mean First Majestic. I have some First Majestic, and yeah, I admit I've had it for a while and it's not doing well, but I'm holding on to it. I think they have a small dividend, So yeah, right here where it is, it's probably a good speculation because that's the other thing as well. There's a lot of talk, for example, that the stock of the eligible, not eligible, the registered stock of gold and silver on COMEX has been dropping dramatically in the last year or so. And for example, premium for junk silver or constitutional US silver is at the highest it's been since the '08 crisis, is at 40%. So yeah, and I think the metals are about to turn, just like the energy market. I think and also oil, there's been a lot of manipulation. They've kept the paper price down, and what that's doing, that's driving people to take physical out of COMEX to sell higher. There are premiums everywhere. So unless the paper players allow the price to rise on COMEX and LBMA, then they're going to run out of their stocks because people are going to keep buying the physical there to sell it for a higher price. So yeah, I think First Majestic, yeah, it's one of the few pure silver players out there. So silver miners, because usually silver miners, silver is mined as a byproduct of other metals. So yeah, it could be a good speculation. And I think their CEO is a good guy. And he's actually a silver bug, a sound money guy, Keith Neumeyer. Lord Humongous, thank you again for your super chat. Did you win the lottery today, Lord Humongous? Just joking. It's generous of you. Thank you very much. Matt Bittner says Devon Energy stocks looks good. Yeah, I have someone I speak to who told me about that company, Devon Energy. I think, as I said, any companies to do with commodities should be interesting. Even though I think in the '70s the gold and silver miners were the best performing of all the commodity stocks. The Steward says 10-year yield US to 4%. Start of hard ride. Yeah, some people have asked me where do I think we could see a lot of trouble. We're at 4%. Right now we're at like 3.2. I think back in June we got up to 3.5. So especially if it happens before the end of the year, and I think that's very possible. Oh, Lord Humongous says, I'm a quadrillionaire, Mario. Didn't I tell you? Yeah, right. Mario Kalenda, Bed Bath and Beyond CEO jumped on suicidal mission from. Yeah, I saw that. I don't really haven't followed that story that much about this company. March 1776, have you heard of gold being removed out of the Vatican? No, but I've spoken about this before. Back in, I think, 1975, 76, Paul Volcker was the president of the New York Fed. He wasn't the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And he corresponded with the Vatican Bank because the Vatican Bank probably keeps a lot of its gold at the New York Fed. And what they did in 75, 76, the New York Fed used the Vatican Bank's gold to lease it out into the market to drive the price lower. So they're probably still doing that, but I'm not sure if they keep how much gold they keep at the Vatican. There has been talk about this instruction by the Pope to bring all the Catholic churches funds into the Vatican Bank, and that could mean that the banking sector could be in trouble. I'm not sure. That's just speculation. uh, what they are doing something, but I don't know if the reason is because of that. But you could argue with this energy crisis situation in Europe is very serious because it could affect all the big European banks, and that could have a domino effect onto the US banks. So who knows? That's why I've been telling people for years to try to keep as little as possible in the banks and to keep stacking. And but they don't want you to do that, and that's why they manipulate the paper price of gold and silver. But when things turn around, you won't be able to get any. So that's why I say get some while you can, while even though the premiums are getting very high. Patrick Bateman says gold is a worthless rock. Warren Buffett. Well, and is that why all the major central banks of the world hold it? The thing about gold is that it's money, and money is not supposed to be consumed. It's supposed to be of no use, really. So he's right. But that's why it's money, because you don't consume it. But it is something everyone wants. You can't deny it. I'm sure if someone put a 400-ounce gold bar in front of Warren Buffett and a pile of Venezuelan currency and Zimbabwean currency and said, "Oh, you can choose between the three," I'm sure he'd choose the gold bar. Scoobyism, how's Barclays? I don't know. Don't know much about Barclays, but it's one of the too big to fail. They're all the too big to fails would be in trouble. All the banking sector would be in trouble. Excuse me. Have a One Green Mitzi says Bitcoin will save us. I'm not sure how Bitcoin will perform during a currency collapse, but one thing I'm certain, gold and silver will be there, holding the fort, I would say. Bio-wise, do you fear for your physical safety in the UK when the social unrest begins? You know, I lived in Brazil. I grew up in Brazil in the 70s and 80s, and it was pretty bad there. And I'm hearing a lot of stories of people getting mugged in London in nice areas and stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's danger anytime. I remember back in the early 90s when I moved to the UK, I was mugged once. I was burgled. So I think you just have to be careful, and but anything is possible. But where do you move if everything's going to hit the fan all over the world? At least if you stay where you are, you know how things work. Dude boy says it's dinner time for him. Have a good dinner. Enjoy your meal. I play, yeah, swing a golf club. 1,000 silver. Thank you for your super chat. Thanks for all you and Billy do for real money, silver, gold. Thanks for your honesty. Well, you're welcome. I was just talking about when I grew up in Brazil and all the inflation. And when you're young, yeah, no one really knew exactly why. That's the other thing. And it's always been one of my goals to get to the bottom of it. And then when I realized that it was happening here, like when Bernanke started talking about helicopter money in '02, it raised alarm bells to me. And it's taken 20 years, but it's happening, and they're going to give you, the mainstream economists, the central bankers, the politicians, they're going to give you every excuse in the world for what's happening, but deep down, the fundamental reason for what's happening now in terms of inflation or rising prices and falling currencies is that they printed too much money over the years. Governments borrowed too much and spent too much. I mean, look at the size of governments now. They're like 50% in Western Europe of GDP. How can you have a functioning economy when the government is so big? Oh yeah, Echo. That was a long time ago, the mugging and the robbery. And I'll tell you guys the story of when they burgled us. Well, we got burgled twice. We lived in a nice flat, but it was a basement flat or apartment, as you call it in English. And one time I went jogging after work in the summer, and I changed into my running stuff. I left my suit on the bed and took my watch off, and I went running. And I came back. My wife was with my daughter. She was a baby in the living room or in the kitchen. Then I got back and I said, "Where's my suit?" And then I realized they took my suit, they took my watches, and then the second time, I think it was a week or two later. While we were asleep, and we had a Shih Tzu just like Billy, and he was called Billy as well. And all of a sudden, he wakes up and starts barking, and people had broken in. They stole a candelabra, and some silver stuff. But if Billy the first hadn't woken up, they would have probably cleaned the whole place. So yeah, so it can happen even in good times. Gianfranco Bergani, Mara, don't worry, USA have lots of helicopters to put in the game. Yeah. Lord Humongous says, pick up physical gold and silver on these artificial smash downs. Thank me in 2023. Yeah, I think the way to look at gold and silver is not that you're trying to trade and make more fiat currency, because we know fiat currencies now are on their way down. So why do you want to make profits in them? It's like if you were in Venezuela in 2017, 2018, trading gold. And there was a point there, I think it was around 14,000 bolivars, and then it dropped to 10,000. And can you imagine, said, "Oh, I'm going to get out of my gold because it's dropped." And then in the next few years, it went to hundreds of million. So it's insurance. And yeah, and even if monetary mayhem doesn't happen, which is very unlikely now, it will still be worth something. Peter Minton, do you think cash will be banned, and when do you think it will happen? Um, I don't know where you are, Peter, but I think here in the UK, I don't think they're going to ban cash. They're trying to get people not to use cash, but yeah, I hope not, because I think it's a bad thing. I think people should have the privacy of cash. And you say, you can be mugged. Yeah, but they can steal your electronic funds as well through on the internet or your. So it's Lord Humongous, do you follow Maverick of Wall Street? I don't follow him. I think someone sent me a link once and I watched it, but I haven't watched him in a while. I've heard of him. BP, I saw an interesting article where they said Rolex bubble is popping in coincidence with all falling cryptos. Yeah, I mean, I have a Rolex, but I bought it in 2003 for 2,000 pounds. And yes, in the last 2 years, it's gone up. Everything has gone up a lot, especially watches like this. I think a lot of it was a Chinese driven bubble, wealthy Chinese trying to get their money out of China. So they bought expensive watches. They didn't have to declare it as cash, and they went out and sold it somewhere else. But for yeah, it got a bit silly and it's coming down, but it's still, compared to what I bought it for, is still a very good price. I think it just got a bit frothy, and but I think the in the current environment we're in, if we do get some kind of collapse in the stock market or bond markets, yes, you're going to see a lot of luxury goods being for sale. I saw a video the other day by I allegedly. He's really good. I hadn't really heard of him. He's in California, and he was talking about how boat prices or yacht prices are coming down very quickly. So that doesn't mean gold and silver or commodities are going to come down. It just means that people who leverage themselves or uh, to buy all these third or fourth cars, yachts, expensive watches, a lot of them are like stretched in terms of finance. If their mortgage servicing goes up, and if the cost of living is going up, they're going to have to sell things. And that's the best time to buy, really. If you have something that you always liked and you've been able to save and have been living within your means, those are the times um, when everyone's selling and things are like going for bargains. That's when you want to go in there and buy it. That's what I'm hoping to do eventually. I think prices are still nowhere really as low as they can go eventually. Yeah, his name is Dan. Yeah, he's good. I listened to him last week. Russian brick. Thank you, Danny. Dan, Russian bricks will bring back gold and silver commodity standard. Yeah, there's a lot of talk on social media about that, and I made a video back in June 23rd, I think, about that because uh, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that too, because we all know that August 15th, 1971 is like a very important day, right? Because that was when Nixon closed the gold window. But yeah, if let me get the link here.
Brighton and Hove
Hold on a second.
upmarket seaside.
Let me get the link to my video and I'll put it here. So I was talking about that a few months ago already. So here you go. That's my video I made about that, about the BRICS. And what I said is that Putin on that, he made a speech at the SPIEF conference, which is the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. And he actually said that the world is moving towards an economy of real values and hard assets, unlike the West, which has currencies and an economy based on mythical values. He called it, he said that we issue debt, unbacked debt. So basically, he said the world's moving out of fiat currency into sound money, really. And I think that's very significant. So that was June 17th, 2022. And I think back on August 15th, 1971, it took people a while to realize how important that announcement by Nixon was. Of course, now we know that it was very important. And I think it's going to be the same thing for June 17th, 2022, when Putin announced to the world that Russia and probably the BRICS and the global South are going into this kind of sound currency system. So yeah, very significant, I think. SoCal Silver, thank you for your super chat. Waiting for real estate in Croatia to take a breather. Want to purchase a retirement home in the next few years. Think it'll drop worldwide. I'm not really sure about the real estate market in Croatia, but even if it doesn't drop that much over there, a lot of times you can buy a lot more property over there than you can in California, for example. And I think I've seen, I think it was Dr. Sean Baker. He's the carnivore guy. He was in Croatia and Bosnia Herzegovina recently, and it's very nice over there. A lot of these Eastern European countries are very nice because they've been through the communism, and they can smell the BS that the West is trying to push into us right now. So it could be a nice place, Croatia. Dan is a friend of Jeremiah Babe. Yeah, that's what I heard. I like Jeremiah Babe. I haven't listened to him recently. John Diliberto says the action of Nixon's also led directly to the formation of the Libertarian Party in the US, breaking away from the Republican Party of the day. Yeah. When Russell Brand was pushed into a fountain, was that you? No. Was he pushed into a fountain? I didn't know about that. Adam Blair, thank you for your super chat. Thoughts on UK property market in the midterm? Apologies for already covered. No, we haven't covered it yet. The thing is, I think the latest data showed the house prices are still going up. But I think if you look at the currency, last year the pound almost got up to $1.50. Now we're at 110. So I don't think it's very healthy, the housing market, and the only reason prices are still going up is because our currency is falling out of bed. But I would tend to think that even in nominal terms, house prices could plateau and come down hard, because next year there's going to be a lot of people who took 2-year fixed rate back in 2021. That's going to come due, and they're going to have to refinance at a lot higher rates. And so they might not be able to afford that, and they might have to sell that. So yeah, I'm not sure if we'll have a crash, but it could come off and even plateau. And I think having gold has been good as well, because it's kind of kept up with the house price rises, because gold is almost up 10% in pounds, and I think house prices are up about 10% in the last 12 months. But I would say gold is going to outperform going forward house prices. That's my opinion. King McDidley. Yeah, I do think we're going into, there is a danger of hyperinflation in the UK. And why do I say that? Well, because we already have very high inflation. Goldman Sachs was talking about CPI going up to 22% next year. And if we keep seeing government continue to spend to help people with the rising prices, it could get out of hand. It's all about psychology. If people realize that prices are going to keep going up and up and up, they're going to start front running the prices. What does that mean? They're going to start buying things because they know it's going to keep going up. And that could trigger it. Hyperinflation is, you could even have it in a recession, and it's just people getting rid of their currency, not because they need to buy anything, but because they lose confidence in it. So yeah, it's very possible, especially also with the currency going down. Wow, John Knox says average price of fish and chips is 12 quid. Well, I remember I used to buy fish and chips probably like in the early 2000s, 5 or 7 pounds for fish and chips. 12 pounds. I don't eat fish and chips anymore anyway. Oh, we got just a minute left. Ask, you can ask the last questions here. Jack B says uranium is the new green energy. Yeah, I saw that even the Germans are now reconsidering. They're gonna reconsider energy, nuclear energy policy. Yeah, I did a paid promotion about Uranium Energy Corp, and since I'd done that video about 2-3 weeks ago, I actually bought some of those shares. I think it could be an interesting investment long term. It's not advice. It's called UEC, Uranium Energy Corp. I guess Chemical is the other big one, but UEC is the only pure American uranium energy company, uranium exploration company in America. So UEC Chemical is Canadian. Rick and Fed. Yeah, hyperinflation, it doesn't matter if it's digital or paper. You can, you still, if you think prices are going to keep going up, you will use, your debit or your debit card or Apple Pay to buy things. And that's going to drive prices higher. It doesn't really matter if it's paper or digital. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for all your comments, your super chats, or your questions. And I appreciate you spending an hour of your time listening to me. And yeah, and I wish you my viewers in the States a good Labor Day tomorrow, and everyone else a good week. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.